Hey everyone, today is Wednesday, January 25th. Today I want to talk about this book, the Star Wars The Old Republic Explorer's Guide. My dad a few weeks ago randomly went into a bookstore, got himself a book, and then he picked this up as soon as he saw it, thinking of me, which is great, real sweet. I actually enjoy the artwork in the book. It's pretty fantastic. They have a lot of concept stuff in the back, most of which I've already seen, but it's always nice to see some of it again. There are some pros and cons to this book. The pros is that they do have plenty of maps. In some cases, they're missing some maps, which kind of ticks me off here and there. On the maps, they have marked, at least on the world maps, the larger maps, like these big maps of the entire zone you're going to be playing in. They mark where the taxis are. They mark where the datacrons are, and mission hubs and stuff like that. But one of the problems I have is when you get into a certain area, like there's a really good case in point with Balmorra here, where you need to go into the Okara droid factory. There's a datacron in the factory, and it's really hard to find. It doesn't tell you how to find it. Well, it doesn't give you any of the maps of the inside of the Okara droid factory. So, I mean, you get a map of Sobrik, you get a map of the Sundari Flatlands, you get a map of the spaceport, which is all but useless. I mean, you don't need a map of the spaceport. They're all pretty much the same. I think the only time you actually kinda need one for the spaceport is on Droman Kos, and even then you only need a map of one of the hangars so you can find the friggin' datacron. I mean, like, this is a case in point. Well, this is a good example. Here you have the zone in between two parts of the Balmorran arms factory, and it's just a strip of land right here. Lots of fighting to do in here. You got like a quest or something. That's the Cunning datacron on Droman Kos for the Imperials. The Inquisitor has a class quest over here, but they don't have it marked. Yeah, they don't have marked any of the bad guys. Like they'll spend entire maps marking people, bad guys, and stuff. Actually, hang on. Let me see if I can find a really good example of a wasted map. I don't need maps that tell me where all the bad guys are, especially seeing as this book came out around about the same time the game did, which means it was out of date almost as soon as it got to my hands. Kind of. I mean, the maps are essentially the same, and it is helpful to a limited extent. Yeah, look at this. A location of every single bad guy in the room. You don't need that. To be honest, I don't even think you need the map of that room. Or if you're going to do a map of a room like this, at least provide maps of other rooms that need a bit more fleshing out. I think they didn't do as complete a job on this as I would have liked. Now, this is a lot more than I had before I had the book, obviously. They start each chapter out with the location of the planet and some background information on the world and levels of bad guys to expect and things like that, points of interest. Really, I mean, it's just nominal stuff, fluff, if you will. And then you finally get to the meat of the map, and I've never been to Alderaan, but it's like, okay, there are the 5 datacrons, and there's, I can find 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, bam, there you go. But I have absolutely no idea how to get to them. Now, a friend of mine said, well, that's part of the challenge. And I'm like, okay, I see that. But, if you're going to tell me where the datacrons are, then at least tell me where some of the lore entries in the wild are. There's a map on Coruscant in the Senate Tower where you go into one of the Senate offices. Yeah, right here. That's a lore entry right there in the Senate Tower. They do not make a habit of pointing out lore entries in this book. They point out 1 or 2 here and there, but if you go to Tython, luckily the planets are all in alphabetical order. No, it's Tatooine. Tython. There we go. So you have this map, the Jedi Temple interior. First level. There is a lore entry in this room, and it is not on the map. Well, if you're going to do it on Coruscant, why aren't you doing it on Tython? For the most part, this book, I don't need it. It's nice to have. Their recommendations for some of the classes are just absurd. And also, I think this recommendation, this survival tip, as they put it, for the Jedi Consular, is ill-placed and no longer valid. Save your Tython commendations for gear later in the game. You can trade commendations from earlier planets on the next planet at a ratio of 2 to 1. So Tython commendations can be traded in on either Carrick Station or Coruscant for gear you will use for a much longer time frame. No. You can't trade it in right now. In fact, that was only a thing that you could do during the beta. Sorry? Bad tip. Also, recommending that a Jedi Shadow focus on strength is kind of foolish, seeing as willpower does what strength does and more. Yeah, I'd say strength is a good tertiary stat, but by no means is it a secondary or a primary. Yeah, it's just... That's the side effect of releasing a guide far too early in the game's lifetime. They should have waited a month and gotten more information. As it is, yeah, this one has a 2011 copyright. This came out December. So, yeah. I mean, kudos on the quality of the book. The book is fantastically bound. It's big pictures, plenty of detail, but it's just... From time to time, you get maps like this that make absolutely no sense. Now, I've seen Belsavis, and I can actually interpret it, but anyways. I wouldn't spend $25 on this. I wait until a bookstore marks it down, or I would use a gift card on it. But I know it's going to come in handy later on when I start to do the Great Datacron hunt. Also, it did come in handy in helping find the world boss on Drummond Koss. I didn't know where that was, and a friend of mine asked me, and I said, well, there's one of two places it could be in, because I had glanced at one of the maps in here. And he managed to find it and get his butt kicked by it. However, finding the world boss, where the world boss walks around on Drummond Koss, fills out the last part of the map that you need. There you go. So anyways, I am going to go upload this. I'm going to go grab a drink and hop on my cute as a button, almost level 17. She's level 16, Sith Assassin. She's just started on Balmora. So, until next time.